Hello everyone, welcome to today's epic episode, wordplay intended, in the history of K-pop Season 1, where we're diving even deeper into one of the first generation K-pop idol groups, Shinhwa, whose career is still continuing to this day. Before we get started, here is a brief recap of where we were for our previous Shinhwa episodes.
자, 오늘의 요약!
In our last 4 episodes, we covered how Shinhwa came together as a group, some records set by them, and all of their 13 album promotions. Yes, there were indeed 13 album promotion periods. And yes, we actually and legitimately took 4 entire episodes just to cover those 3 topics. So please be sure to watch those videos too. As for today's episode, along with the shorter introduction, we'll be discussing Shinhwa's music style and skills related to performance and album/music production, as well as their continually loyal fandom who's been next to Shinhwa for their entire history. Are you ready to jump into things? For the 30th time? We have a lot to cover today as usual, so I'm gonna keep this intro short and sweet. So without further ado, let's get right into it.
Let's go!
If you watched our previous 4 episodes, you'll know Shinhwa has been quite consistent throughout their career in many ways. Well, we'll find out right now.
Let's begin!
One characteristic that has been consistent since their debut is that they tended to adapt to new global genres at that time, which they would turn into flashy and intense dance songs. I mean, some say that even their older songs don't sound as old as you might think. Their ability to quickly adapt to new global trends is just one of the reasons why Shinhwa has been able to stay in the spotlight for so long. And they still haven't left the spotlight yet.
Nothing with the regulars.
That being said, their maniac-like dance music likely limited the audience that would be interested in their releases, as this typically appeals to people in their teens to 30s. Or, in other words, Shinhwa was specifically targeting their promotions to fans of idol groups. Which sounds like an absolutely obvious thing.
당연하죠.
And given that the group was a part of SM Entertainment at one point, a lot of their earlier music tended to reflect the agency's style, or at least the style of SM Entertainment's main producer, Yoo Young-jin. However, some people say they don't notice too much of a difference before and after their departure from SM Entertainment. This is likely thanks to Minwoo and Eric continuously participating in the album production stages ever since their first album. Doing so has allowed them to inject their personal and group's music tastes, which carried on from their debut to their more recent album. And as we know, there are a lot of their albums. As we've also previously mentioned, Eric often worked on writing the English raps, while Minwoo participated in creating choreographies. Once the group finally succeeded in establishing their own agency, which is Shinhwa Company, all of the group's albums were, and still are, produced by the group itself. With that, no one would doubt that Shinhwa is putting a lot of effort and dedication into their album promotions. At least, we believe them. To back that up, here are some ways that demonstrate the group's efforts and dedication to album production. Most of their albums are full-length albums with many tracks, rather than mini or single albums. The group supposedly receives more than 1,000 demo songs to properly put together their albums. The producers, Eric and Minu, pushed the group to their limits during recording sessions and other processes in order to deliver the quality they want to put into the album. They take around a year to release new albums, which dictates all the members' individual promotion schedules. And this goes back to Shinhwa's promotion philosophy. So, is anyone still questioning their dedication? Although Shinhwa is considered to be a dance group that puts on spectacular performances on every stage, they are still very good at delivering live vocal performances, and are quite stubborn about doing so. But during their early debut days, the group adhered to Mr. SM's mindset that lip syncing is also a genre. What? Now, we think this is likely due to the fact that they hadn't received proper vocal and rap training at the beginning. It's important to keep in mind, however, that this was pretty common among most first-generation idol groups, often to a worse extent than Shinhwa's case. And the general public did not expect live performance skills from idols at all. Perhaps this is why the general public did not have high expectations when any of these idol singers announced their solo promotions. Oh, and by the way, Shinhwa actually has a funny story regarding this. For one of their performances, the members were told to lip sync, as usual. Getting bored of lip syncing, the members decided to give a little twist to their performance. And I wonder whose idea that was. But anyway, I'll give you guys 10 seconds to guess in the comments down below.
10 seconds later.
Did you guys guess? Okay, so the answer is apparently, the members decided to troll Mr. SM by not equipping microphones on purpose and switching their parts around after he told them to lip sync for the performance. Now, this wasn't quite obvious to us when we first found this video, but all of the comments on it pretty much were laughing at the members' decision to troll their boss. We'll put the link to this video in the description down below in case any of you guys want to watch it too. And if any of you guys are fans of Shinhwa, I'm sure you'll have a good time laughing while watching the video. But now, I'm curious to know what Mr. SM had to say about this.
Run.
As much as Shinhwa may have had fun trolling Mr. SM, which is still hilarious just thinking about, there obviously was a point when they started to perform live. And this point was from their first concert that was held after their third album, and they have continued to perform live since then, unless stated otherwise. And not too long after Shinhwa started to promote in Japan, the Japanese industry began demanding that idol singers also perform live, so the group had to prepare for this regardless. And remember when a certain someone tried to say that lip syncing is a genre? But anyway, after enough training and practice, the group was able to perform live even for difficult songs like 나의 결혼식 from their 6th album, which we had said is known for its deadly choreography. It's one that doesn't allow them to catch their breath at all, which I cannot imagine. So the members had to undergo rigorous training in order to sing this song while performing live. I would blame whoever came up with that choreography.
You just can't get into it.
After their departure from SM Entertainment, the Shinhwa members focused more on receiving proper vocal lessons. As surprising as that might sound. Keep in mind that they were already a very reputable group with a solid career, so continuing to seek vocal training at this point shows just how much they were being more than humble when it came to their skills.
정서는 무조건 해야 돼. 감사. 그만하지 않고. 나 하나 얘기할게.
And of course, their efforts really paid off, and many had noticed an improvement starting from their 7th album and onward. So much so that some people suspected them of lip syncing during their 8th album promotions. Unfortunately, the members still face doubts and suspicions like this until today. But they have proven their abilities time and time again through live concerts and broadcasted music shows. A clear example of suspicion was when Minu appeared as a competitor on MBC's Masked Singer, where the panelists almost refused to believe that it was him under the mask, as he was too good to be Minu from Shinhwa. This was due to their perception that, and I quote, Minu is more geared towards dancing, not singing. End quote. But in places where Shinhwa gets recognized for their skills even beyond vocals, members such as Eric and Minu are often praised by professionals in hip-hop and dance areas, respectively. Although the general population did not expect such skills from idol groups back in the day, it's pretty safe to say that Shinhwa has continued to outperform themselves. As previously mentioned during a lot of previous episodes on Shinhwa, Eric and Minu were especially involved in the process of writing and composing songs. Minu in particular focused a lot on composing the group's songs, in addition to producing, writing, and composing the songs on his solo albums and for other singers as well. For example, he wrote the songs Superstar and One More Time for the group Jewelry, the latter one becoming a massive hit upon release. And if you guys have seen this dance, then yeah, Minu is the one who wrote that song. On the other hand, Eric focused more on writing raps for a lot of other groups and followed trends of the current time periods. Of course, this isn't any less important than what Minu did. When he was in his 20s, he wrote many of his raps in English, but later wrote raps in Korean when it became the trend. Now, why does this remind me of Sateji all of a sudden? Aside from these two, other members such as Dongwon and Haesung also took part in writing and composing songs. But starting from their 10th album, both Eric and Minu stopped contributing their own songs for the group albums. Now, let's hold our horses, or beers for researcher J, before anyone gets disappointed here. The two members, and presumably the rest of the group as well, had arrived onto making this decision because they wanted to put more of their effort into the overall production of the album, instead of putting a lot of their energy into writing and composing individual songs, which could end up mentally draining the two members quite a bit. Honestly, after researching, writing, and editing our 30 scripts up to this point, both myself and researcher Jay can totally understand how they feel. And the real kicker is that this is not even the final episode. As you might have realized by now, this is what the group is well known for and it's what they take pride in. I mean, the members themselves define Shinhwa as being a dance group. And I would honestly agree with that. Right from their debut, Minwoo was in charge of creating the group's choreography. Although his history of creating choreography goes all the way into his trainee days. More recently, it is said that Minwoo has also collaborated with professional choreographers, such as the Shinhwa dance team, as he has instead been putting more effort into the overall album production. Basically, he suggests certain concepts to the choreographers, who then come up with choreography based on that and discuss it with Minwoo for confirmation. That being said, Minwoo also comes up with some of the choreography as he works on the album production, similar to what JYP does sometimes. And it should come as no surprise that Minwoo takes a lot of pride in his dancing, so much so that he has said that he, and Shinhwa, will never give up dancing as long as the group exists. Of course, it should be noted that all the other members take pride in their dancing as well, and we don't doubt that at all. At this point, the members are in their 40s and have been going through some rough times together, including crazy schedules, car accidents, and various major and minor physical injuries. In regards to this, my researcher J, manually added to the script saying that it's extremely admirable dedication from Shinhwa, since this dedication requires endless physical maintenance and endless practice, just to even maintain their dance skills. And FYI, my researcher J said this from his own experience.
그때는 그랬어요.
In their 20s, Shinhwa's dance style was more on the edgy and powerful side, and featured numerous acrobatic movements. Once the group was in their 30s, the members maybe had to, unfortunately, compromise on all of those acrobatic moves, simply because they were getting older. But we all know that dance doesn't need to be acrobatic all the time. So instead, their choreography turned towards a more mature and relaxed style. Despite some changes, one thing that has remained consistent with Shinhwa's choreographies is that they are all really difficult, whether they are acrobatic or not. And, well, this is largely due to how they put up magic shows playing with beats. For instance, many of their choreographies like to split beats, which requires more moves and detail, which then definitely and exponentially increases their difficulty. We've said this several times before, but the dance for the song 나의 결혼식, for example, really pushes people's stamina to the limit. And I'm already tired just thinking about it. Needless to say, many of their junior boy groups show a lot of respect for Shinhwa, and have often covered the group's dances. And we really respect them for pulling that off too. I mean, never mind how difficult they are, but covering their choreographies that hold such a legacy? That's definitely a challenge in our opinion. It must be said that behind every successful group is a loyal and dedicated fandom. Wow, I actually like this quote. This is of course no different with Shinhwa, who receives much love from their official fan club named Shinhwa ChangJo, or SHCJ. The official color of the fan club is orange, and they are quite well known by the nickname of 주황공주, or Orange Princesses, within the entertainment industry. Not to be confused with Orange Caramel. One One other aspect they are also known for is their official fan club item, which is an orange raincoat. For some reason, that makes me picture a sea of traffic cones. It's a signature item for a lot of the first generation idol groups' fandoms, but SHCJ is known for continuing to carry on that legacy since then. For some reason, probably out of curiosity, the Shinhwa members themselves actually wore raincoats during a concert in 2015, where Minu said, "How did you guys cheer for us wearing these stuffy things? For 17 years. Well, Minu, those are your fans for you." Besides the raincoat, the fan club also cheers for the group using orange balloons, but they eventually switched this out for a cheering stick to adapt with the times. Wow, even the fandom is very adaptive to new trends. However, the design of their cheering stick was different for all of the concerts, which we do not have an explanation for. Alright, so as for the actual fan club itself, the first generation of the SHCJ fan club was established in 1998. Not surprising, as this is the same year Shinhwa debuted. And they have most recently done recruitment for their 13th generation in 2019. The fan club has not had a resting period since when they were first created, unlike the idol group they support. And they are the only fan club to experience the first, second, and third generations, or even beyond, of K-pop idol fandom culture. As one of the longest running fan clubs, SHCJ also had a big influence on fandom culture itself, and are said to have started common fandom trends like supporting idols with lunchboxes and fan rice, or what is basically a wreath made out of rice. I'm sure we have a visual for this, so please refer to that. According to Wikipedia, the first recorded instance of a rice wreath was in honor of Haesung's solo concert on August 11th, 2007. Since then, the trend has really taken off to the extent that there are now dedicated businesses for this service. I know this episode is getting long at this point, but since it's already long, we might as well go through some more interesting things before closing it off. Firstly, one thing that's notable about SHCJ is that the fandom is very invested in equally supporting each of the members. This is quite rare amongst the older fandom idol groups, or even among fandoms in general. My researcher Jay's take on this is that it's because many of the older idols tend to seek solo activities as they become seniors in the industry, whether or not their group has disbanded, and that this naturally leads the fans to support their favorite members on their solo activities. Shinhwa, on the other hand, has put strong teamwork and friendship at the core of their identity and promotions, which are values that are reflected in their fandom as well. As a result, there is an extremely tight bond within the fandom, and I can imagine the fans want all the members to be loved equally. Funnily, there was an instance where a popularity vote was conducted for the members, and supposedly they all got an equal number of votes. Now that is really something. A second point is that SHCJ has a very broad spectrum in terms of their age. Even more interestingly, the dominant age group in the fandom is actually those in their 20s. Considering that Shinhwa has been active for more than 20 years at this point, it's quite impressive that they're able to keep bringing in new fans over such a long period of time. I mean, I'm a fan of theirs now, but I was practically still in diapers when they debuted. Apparently, my researcher Jay came across this website where someone gathers statistics on the age of Shinhwa fans who purchased tickets for their concert from a Korean concert ticket booking website called Interpark. And from this website, or from Interpark data, we were able to find out that a large fraction of the fans who attended Shinhwa's concerts, held through 2005 to 2015, were those in their 20s. We'll put it up on the screen here so you guys can see it too.
뭐 하는 짓인가 지금?
저희 그
Finally, Shinhwa's fandom shows an insane amount of support when it comes to the group's promotions. This is especially true when it comes to voting for music shows and purchasing concert tickets. Just getting straight to the point here, SHCJ simply destroys other fandoms when it comes to voting on music shows, pulling in 63% of the votes, even when up against two other well-known and popular groups in 2012, or even 95% of the vote when they were up against one popular group in 2013. We're going to leave the names of the defeated opponents anonymous as a way of showing respect, but we'll just tell you guys that all three groups were very, very popular back in those corresponding days. Like, you'd definitely know them if we say their names. And this may be kind of obvious, but the extreme support Shinhwa's fans show is the reason why Shinhwa is able to host large-scale concerts. Speaking of which, we didn't talk about the fandom purchasing concert tickets, right? Well, getting straight to the point, for the second time, SHCJ is well known for being server breakers when it comes to any sort of online activity. And that's with the world's fastest internet speeds in Korea. The reason they show such passionate support is likely because SHCJ is a long-standing fan club with many core fans. Having been through all the challenges alongside Shinhwa and standing by them during their long break, including their military service, only made the fandom stronger. That being said, the fans tend to become more active only when Shinhwa themselves are active. Which doesn't sound weird at all. Regarding their longevity, there was a funny yet unfortunate incident that occurred, which brings to light the generational gap that Shinhwa fans may have experienced. Yeah, we are actually talking about the generational gap within a fandom. When Shinhwa made their comeback after a 4-year hiatus, they only scored first place once with their 10th album, and it was apparently because fans were unfamiliar with the changed voting method that had been implemented. Around that time, the voting system moved from being based on album sales and automatic response system votes to being based on streaming services, which we assume most of us are familiar with. The fans were quite upset with this change, but for Shinhwa's 11th and 12th albums, their fans had evolved and showed even more of their extreme support, enabling them to win first place 8 times for the 11th album and 10 times for the 12th album. I bet this would have scared younger fans of other idol groups who were active back then. Except, even with all the support that SHCJ fans dedicated towards Shinhwa, there is one famous quote that was said by Dongwon during their fan meeting for the first generation SHCJ, which was, "Shinhwa is not responsible for your life." I mean, I agree with that, but Come on. These are your own fans. Anyway, let's wrap things up here.
Let's go!
And that brings us to the end of another fun episode of The History of K-Pop Season 1. If it seems like there's a lot to cover with Shinhwa, that's because there really is. 25 years and still going, to be precise. Well, assuming that this episode is released in 2023. FYI, this video was filmed on June 19th, 2022. Do not ask us why it took so long to release the videos. Just to quickly review, in this episode, we talked about Shinhwa's musical style, skills related to performance and album/music production, and their eternally loyal fandom, Shinhwa ChangJo. All in all, I think the topics from this episode had a couple of important takeaways for us. I mean, in my opinion, and that of my researcher Jay's as well, these topics demonstrated two important factors that kept Shinhwa in their spot for over 20 years.
당연하죠.
Being able to produce their albums, of course, is really important since that shows the musical identity and philosophy as an artist. I mean, Shinhwa's dedication to producing high-quality albums was pretty well illustrated by the fact that they took about 1 year on average to produce one album, as well as by the fact that they arrange a year's worth of schedules around the production schedule of their albums. On top of that, being able to produce their own albums also proves that Shinhwa can self-sustain and recognize the trends of the industry and what their fans want. I mean, I don't know how else a group can get any better. A group's effort is one thing, but I must say, SHCJ has definitely shown all K-pop fans of any generation what it takes to keep the momentum of their beloved idol groups. I'll keep this one short since we talked about all of that earlier in this episode, but that being said, this is why our contributions to idol groups are extremely important. But speaking of factors that kept Shinhwa in their spot for as long as they have existed, this actually leads very nicely and precisely into our next episode. In fact, our next episode is all about what makes Shinhwa a very special group who was able to maintain and stay active as a group without going through any changes in the members. By now, we assume you guys all know the drill. Please make sure to tune in next time so you don't miss out on all the goodies.
그러니까 다음에도 또 오래.
Anyway, that is it for today's episode. But before we sign off, we want to ask you guys these questions. What did you guys think about the fact that Shinhwa took an entire year to produce their albums? And did anything about Shinhwa ChangJo surprise you guys? Let us know in the comments down below, and as always, please let us know what we might have missed in today's video, or if anything needs to be corrected. Last but not least, please leave any questions you have throughout the season on any particular video in the series, since we are still planning to have a special review or Q&A episode after our last episode. As always, thank you so much for watching. Hit that subscribe button if you want to tune in next time, and remember to stay awkward. Bye!